Kang Minho was Seoul's most feared mafia boss. He controlled the pharmaceutical black market, made grown men beg for mercy, built an empire on fear and precision violence. But for 3 years, there was one thing he couldn't control: his own body. Psychogenic erectile dysfunction, caused by trauma he refused to name. No medication worked, no therapy helped, no doctor could solve it. Until Dr. Zara Dlamini walked into his private medical suite. She was a South African neurologist in Seoul on fellowship, offered obscene money to examine a private client with a delicate condition. She should have refused, should have recognized the danger, but she needed the money, and she was curious. So she examined him professionally, clinically, touching the pressure points along his spine that corresponded to neural pathways. And for the first time in 3 years, Kang Minho's body responded. Not fully, not completely, but enough to make him realize this woman held the key to healing what trauma had broken. "You're not leaving," he told her, his voice cold and desperate. "Not until you fix me, whatever it takes." Zara looked at this powerful, broken man and realized she'd just become a prisoner of a mafia boss whose manhood stood when she touched him and walked away when she didn't. 2 weeks earlier, Johannesburg, South Africa. Dr. Zara Dlamini was packing for Seoul when her brother Thabo appeared at her apartment, looking concerned. "You're really going? To Seoul? For a year?" "It's a prestigious fellowship, Thabo. Neurological trauma research at one of the best hospitals in Asia. This could make my career. Or it could be dangerous." "You don't know anyone there. Don't speak Korean." "I speak English and medical terminology. That's universal." She folded another outfit. "Besides, the stipend is generous. I can finally help Mama with the house repairs and still have money for my research." "I don't like you being that far away." "I'm 26, not 16. I can take care of myself." She kissed his cheek. "But I appreciate the protective big brother energy. Very on brand for you." What Zara didn't know was that Thabo's concern wasn't just familial. He was an Interpol agent tracking an international medical torture network, and Seoul was one of their primary operation sites. He tried to get her fellowship canceled, but couldn't without revealing his investigation. So he let her go, hoping Seoul would be safe. He was wrong. Seoul. 2 weeks later, the fellowship was everything Zara had hoped for: cutting-edge research, brilliant colleagues, challenging cases. She'd settled into a small apartment in Gangnam, made friends with another South African doctor named Naledi, and was thriving professionally. Then Dr. Park approached her. "Dr. Dlamini, I have an unusual opportunity for you," he said, cornering her after a seminar. "A private client with a complex neurological condition. He's willing to pay significantly for consultation." "How significantly?" $50,000 US for one examination." Zara nearly choked. That's insane. What's the condition?" "Delicate. Psychogenic in nature. The client values discretion and expertise. You're perfectly qualified, neurological trauma specialist, no connections to Seoul's medical community, foreign enough to ensure privacy." Why does being foreign matter? The client has had unfortunate experiences with local doctors. He prefers someone completely outside his usual circles. Dr. Park pulled out a contract. One examination, professional assessment, $50,000 wired immediately upon completion. Interested? Zara knew she should refuse, knew this screamed of illegal activity, dangerous clients, situations no ethical doctor should enter. But $50,000. That was nearly 2 years of her fellowship stipend. That was her mother's house, fully repaired. That was research funding that could change lives. One examination, she said carefully. Professional boundaries maintained. If I'm uncomfortable, I leave immediately. Of course, the client is a gentleman, desperate but respectful. Dr. Park smiled, and it didn't reach his eyes. Tomorrow night, I'll send a car. After he left, Zara called Naledi. Girl, you're not seriously considering this? $50,000, Naledi, for one examination. That's life-changing money, or life-ending money. Private clients who need foreign doctors and absolute discretion. That's criminal money. Probably a gangster or corrupt politician. So, I'm a doctor, not a judge. If someone needs medical help, they deserve treatment regardless of their background. That's very noble and very naive. Zara, promise me you'll be careful. Take your phone, have an exit strategy. Don't let them isolate you. I promise. It's one examination. What's the worst that could happen? Famous last words. The next evening, a luxury car picked Zara up from her apartment. The driver was professional, silent, taking her through increasingly upscale neighborhoods until they reached a private compound in the hills. Security everywhere, cameras, guards who checked her medical bag thoroughly. Dr. Dlamini, a stern-looking man in an expensive suit, greeted her. I'm Ji-hoon, Mr. Kang's second-in-command. Thank you for coming. Please follow me. The compound was stunning. Modern architecture, expensive art, the kind of wealth that didn't ask questions because it made the rules. Zara's instincts screamed that she was in over her head. They led her to a private medical suite, fully equipped, hospital-grade, clearly designed for serious procedures. And sitting in a chair, radiating danger and control, was Kang Minho. He was beautiful in a terrifying way. Sharp features, cold eyes, the kind of presence that made you acutely aware of your own mortality. He wore all black, expensive and tailored, but his posture was tense, defensive. Dr. Dlamini, he said, in perfect English, his voice deep and controlled. I appreciate your discretion in coming. Mr. Kang, Dr. Park said you have a neurological condition that requires consultation. Not neurological, psychogenic. His bluntness was jarring. For 3 years, I've suffered from erectile dysfunction with no physical cause. Every test shows I'm perfectly healthy. Every medication fails. Every therapy is useless. My body simply doesn't respond. Zara maintained her professional demeanor despite the intimate revelation. Psychogenic erectile dysfunction can stem from trauma, stress, psychological blocks. I know the causes. I've seen every specialist in Seoul, Tokyo, Hong Kong. Nothing works. His eyes locked onto hers with unsettling intensity. You're my last option, a neurologist who might see something others missed. A foreign doctor with no preconceptions about me or my situation. I can examine you, assess neural pathways, look for dysfunction in the autonomic nervous system. But Mr. Kang, if this is purely psychological, neurology can only do so much. You'd need therapy. I don't do therapy. I do solutions. He stood, and Zara realized he was taller than she'd thought. Will you examine me or not? I'll examine you, but I need your medical history first. Everything. When this started, any trauma that preceded it, medications you've tried. 3 years ago, started suddenly after an incident I won't discuss. I've tried every medication, PDE5 inhibitors, testosterone therapy, experimental treatments. Nothing works. No trauma to the physical structures, just psychological shutdown. And the incident you won't discuss, was it medical trauma? Assault? Something that created psychological association between sexual function and danger? His jaw clenched. That's not relevant to the examination. It's completely relevant. Psychogenic dysfunction is rooted in psychological association. If I don't know what your brain is protecting you from, I can't help bypass those protections. Just examine me, he said coldly. Use your neurological expertise. See what everyone else missed. Zara wanted to argue, wanted to insist on full history, but the intensity in his eyes stopped her. This man was barely holding on to control, and pushing too hard might end the examination before it began. Fine. Lie down on the table. I'll examine your spinal neural pathways, check for autonomic dysfunction. He complied, removing his shirt to reveal a lean, muscular torso marked with scars, some surgical, some violent. Zara noted them professionally, wondering what kind of life left a body this damaged. She began the examination, checking reflexes, testing neural responses along his spine. Standard neurological assessment, nothing unusual. Then she reached the lumbar region, the area where nerve pathways to sexual organs originated. She pressed specific points, checking for proper nerve conduction, and Minho's entire body went rigid. Stop, he said, his voice strained. I'm just checking L1 and L2 nerve responses. I said stop. He sat up abruptly, and Zara saw something in his eyes she hadn't seen before. Fear. Mr. Kang, did I hurt you? Was there pain in that area? No, the opposite. He was breathing hard, staring at her like she'd performed a miracle. For the first time in 3 years, I felt something. When you pressed those points, my body responded. Not fully, but something. Zara's clinical mind raced. The L1, L2 vertebrae correspond to sexual function neural pathways. If there's psychological blocking, sometimes direct neural stimulation can bypass it temporarily. But that's not a cure. I don't care about cure semantics. You did in 30 seconds what 3 years of specialists couldn't do. You made me feel something. He stood, moving toward her with predatory focus. Do it again. Whatever you just did, do it again. Mr. Kang, that was diagnostic pressure, not treatment. I'd need to understand why your body responded to that specific stimulation. Then figure it out. Here, now. I'll pay whatever you want. It's not about money. I need time to research, understand the mechanism. How much time? Weeks, maybe months. This is complex neurological work. You have 3 days. Not a request, a command. Excuse me? 3 days. Stay here, in my compound. Full access to medical equipment, research materials, whatever you need. Figure out why your touch works and how to replicate it. I can't just stay here. I have a fellowship, responsibilities, which I'll compensate for. I'll contact your hospital, arrange a leave of absence, pay triple your annual salary for 3 days of your time. His desperation was palpable. Dr. Dlamini, you're the first person in 3 years to make me feel hope. I'm not letting that walk away. That's not your choice. It absolutely is. His voice turned cold. I'm not a good man, doctor. I run Seoul's pharmaceutical black market. I've done things that would horrify you. And if I need to keep you here against your will to solve this, I will. But I'd prefer your willing cooperation, your choice. Zara's blood ran cold. This was kidnapping dressed up as negotiation. This was a powerful man using desperation as justification for violation. She should have refused, should have demanded to leave immediately, should have called for help. But she looked at his eyes and saw something beyond the threat. Genuine desperation, the kind of broken that came from trauma so deep it rewired the body's basic functions. 3 days, she heard herself say. Full cooperation, complete access to your medical history, including the trauma you're hiding. And if I'm uncomfortable or unsafe at any point, I leave immediately. No arguments, no threats. Agreed. Jihoon will show you to your quarters. We'll start first thing tomorrow. As Jihoon led her to a luxury suite, beautiful but clearly secured, Zara pulled out her phone to text Naledi. No signal. They'd blocked communications. She was truly trapped. In a compound with a mafia boss, whose body responded to her touch in ways she didn't understand. And she had 3 days to figure out why, or face whatever consequences he'd threatened. This was either the biggest medical breakthrough of her career, or the biggest mistake of her life. Probably both. Would you stay to help someone suffering from trauma-based dysfunction, even if it meant being held against your will? Could you treat someone medically while they're coercing you? What would you do in Zara's situation? Let me know in the comments. If you're already hooked and can't wait to see how this dark medical romance unfolds, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me what you think will happen next. Trust me, this story is about to explore trauma, healing, and the dangerous line between treatment and captivity. Now, let's continue. Zara's suite was luxurious. King-sized bed, private bathroom with a soaking tub, a sitting area with views of Seoul's skyline. But luxury didn't change the fact that the door was monitored. Her phone had no signal, and she was essentially a prisoner. She tested the windows, locked. The door, Jihoon stationed outside. She was truly trapped. Dr. Dlamini, Jihoon's voice came through an intercom. Mr. Kang requests your presence for dinner. It's not optional, but he promises it's civilized. How reassuring, Zara muttered, but she changed into more formal clothes and allowed herself to be escorted to a private dining room. Minho was already there, looking more relaxed than earlier. He'd changed into casual black clothing, and without the suit armor, he looked younger, almost vulnerable. Dr. Dlamini, thank you for joining me. Did I have a choice? No, but I appreciate the illusion of civility. He gestured to the table, elaborate Korean dishes, clearly prepared by a professional chef. I thought we should establish expectations. You're here for 3 days. During that time, you have complete access to my medical suite, research materials, anything you need professionally. You'll be treated with respect and given space when you need it. Except freedom to leave. Accept that. No apology in his voice. I'm desperate, Dr. Dlamini. Not cruel. There's a difference. Desperation that violates someone's autonomy is cruelty. You're just justifying it differently. Perhaps. But I'm also offering you the opportunity to solve a medical mystery that stumped dozens of specialists. Isn't that what researchers live for? The unsolvable case. He wasn't wrong, and Zara hated that. Despite the circumstances, the medical challenge fascinated her. Psychogenic erectile dysfunction that responded to specific neural stimulation. That was groundbreaking. Tell me about the trauma, she said, sitting across from him. The incident 3 years ago. You said it's not relevant, but it's completely relevant. Psychogenic dysfunction is protective. Your brain is guarding you from something. I need to know what. Minho was quiet for a long moment, his jaw working. Finally, 3 years ago, I was captured by a rival organization. Their leader, known only as the surgeon, is obsessed with medical torture. Not physical violence, psychological destruction through medical means. What did he do to you? Experimented, used drugs, neural manipulation, psychological techniques I don't fully understand. His goal was to destroy my masculinity without leaving physical evidence, to break me in a way that couldn't be fixed. Minho's hands clenched. He succeeded. When I was rescued 2 weeks later, I was physically intact. But my body, it wouldn't respond. Couldn't respond. He'd rewired something fundamental. That's horrific. Zara's medical mind raced. Neural manipulation can create psychological blocks, but to target sexual function specifically, that's incredibly precise and deeply cruel. It was personal. The surgeon has a vendetta against powerful Asian men. Part of his torture included. Minho stopped, struggling. Racial elements, psychological attacks about Asian masculinity, inferiority, emasculation. He wanted to prove he could break me using cultural shame combined with medical precision. Zara felt sick. That's not just torture. That's racialized hate crime using medical knowledge as weapon. Yes, and it worked. For 3 years, I've been broken, powerful in business, feared in my world, but fundamentally destroyed where it matters most. He met her eyes. Then you touched me, and for the first time, I felt hope. That's why I can't let you leave. You're the only person who's bypassed what he did. Why me? Why does my touch work when others don't? I don't know. That's what we need to figure out. But Zara was forming theories. Neurological trauma creates pathways, avoidance patterns your brain uses to protect you. If the surgeon's torture included Korean doctors, Korean methods, Korean cultural contexts, your brain might have learned to associate anything Korean with danger. I'm completely outside that context. South African, foreign, no connection to your world. Maybe that's why your nervous system can relax with me. That's remarkably logical. I'm a neurologist. Logic is my specialty. She studied him carefully. Mr. Kang, I can help you, but not like this, not with coercion and captivity. I need your full cooperation, complete medical history, honesty about trauma, willingness to face psychological work alongside neurological treatment. Can you do that? If it means healing? Yes. And can you let me go? Trust that I'll come back and help you voluntarily? No. His honesty was brutal. I can't risk you leaving and not returning. I can't risk losing the only hope I've had in 3 years. So you stay, but with my full cooperation. Complete honesty. Whatever you need medically, you get. That's the best I can offer. It wasn't good enough. It was still captivity dressed up as cooperation. But Zara was pragmatic. She wasn't leaving, so she might as well use the situation to help this broken man and advance medical understanding. Fine. Tomorrow we start properly. Full neurological assessment, psychological evaluation, understanding exactly what the surgeon did and how to undo it. Thank you, Dr. Dlamini. Call me Zara. If I'm trapped here, we might as well use first names. Zara, he tested her name. I'm Minho, and for what it's worth, I'm sorry. For the circumstances, for the coercion. You deserve better. Yes, I do. But here we are. She stood. I'm tired. I assume Jehoon will escort me back to my luxurious prison? He will. And Zara, Minho's voice stopped her. I'm not a good man, but I keep my word. 3 days. If you can't help me in that time, I'll let you go. No retaliation, no consequences. You have my word. The word of a mafia boss. How comforting. Despite everything, his slight smile was almost human. The word of a desperate man. Sometimes that's worth more. That night, Zara couldn't sleep. She paced her suite, thinking through everything she knew. Psychogenic erectile dysfunction from racialized medical torture. Neural pathways rewired to associate sexual function with danger. Her touch bypassing those pathways because she represented complete safety, foreign, unconnected, outside his trauma context. It was brilliant and horrifying. The surgeon had created the perfect psychological prison. But he'd left a vulnerability. Someone completely outside Minho's cultural and trauma context could bypass the programming. Around 2 a.m., Zara heard sounds from the hallway. Minho's voice, tense and distressed. She cracked open her door. Jehoon was trying to calm him. Sir, it was just a nightmare. You're safe. I know it was a nightmare. I know I'm safe, but my body doesn't know that. Minho's voice was raw with frustration and pain. Zara made a decision. She stepped into the hall. Let me help. Both men turned. Minho looked wrecked, hair disheveled, breathing hard, clearly in the grip of trauma response. You should be sleeping, he said. So should you. But trauma doesn't care about should. She moved closer carefully. Nightmare about the surgeon? Always about the surgeon. 3 years later, and he still controls my sleep. That's how trauma works. It doesn't follow logic or time. It just exists. She studied him. May I try something? A technique for calming autonomic nervous system response after nightmare. What kind of technique? Grounding through neural pressure points. It helps reset the nervous system when it's stuck in fight or flight. She showed him her hands. I'd need to touch your neck and upper spine, if you're comfortable with that. He hesitated, then nodded. Yes, please. Zara guided him to sit, then placed her hands carefully on specific points along his neck and upper spine. Pressure points that corresponded to parasympathetic nervous system activation. She worked methodically, feeling his body slowly relax under her touch. You're good at this, he murmured. I'm trained for this. Neurological trauma is my specialty. I just usually treat accident victims, not torture survivors. She continued the technique. How do you feel? Calmer. My heart rate is normalizing. The panic is fading. He was quiet for a moment. Why are you helping me? I'm keeping you prisoner. Because you're a patient suffering from trauma. My ethics don't disappear just because the circumstances are unethical. She moved to the final pressure point. And because I'm starting to understand, you're not evil. You're desperately broken and using the only power you have to try to fix yourself. That doesn't excuse the captivity, but it explains it. You're remarkably compassionate for someone being held against their will. I'm pragmatic. Anger won't get me out of here. Understanding might. She finished the technique and stepped back. Try to sleep. The grounding should help prevent more nightmares tonight. Zara, he caught her hand. Thank you. Genuinely. You didn't have to help just now. Yes, I did. I'm a doctor. It's what we do. She pulled away gently. Good night, Minho. We have work to do tomorrow. Back in her suite, Zara finally felt the weight of exhaustion. She'd just soothed the nightmares of her captor, had shown compassion to the man holding her prisoner. Was that Stockholm Syndrome developing? Or just her healer's instinct overriding common sense? She didn't know, but she knew one thing for certain. Kang Minho was more than a ruthless mafia boss. He was a man destroyed by torture, desperately seeking healing in the only way he knew how. And somehow, against all logic and ethics, she was going to help him, even if it meant blurring every professional boundary she'd ever had. Because beneath the coercion and danger, this was still a patient who needed healing. And Zara had never walked away from someone who needed her, even when she absolutely should have. The next morning, Zara woke to find medical files outside her door, thick folders containing Minho's complete medical history. She spent 2 hours reviewing everything. The documentation was thorough and horrifying. Dozens of specialists, every test imaginable. Medications ranging from standard to experimental. Psychological evaluations that noted trauma but couldn't pinpoint the mechanism. And underlying it all, the 2-week gap 3 years ago when Minho had been unavailable. The kidnapping, the torture, the surgeon. At 9 a.m., Jihoon escorted her to the medical suite where Minho waited, already on the examination table. I read your files, Zara said, all business. We need to try something more targeted than yesterday. I want to map your neural responses, figure out exactly which pathways are blocked and which ones respond to specific stimulation. What does that involve? Systematic testing. I'll stimulate different neural points along your spine and autonomic nervous system, measuring physical responses. It's clinical, methodical, and will take several hours. Will it be uncomfortable? Not physically, but psychologically. If you've associated medical examination with trauma, yes, it might trigger anxiety. We'll go slow. You're in control. Say stop at any point, and I stop immediately. The reassurance seemed to help. Minho nodded. Let's begin. Zara worked methodically, using her neurological training to test response points. She took detailed notes, which areas produced anxiety, which produced no response, which produced the elusive positive response they'd discovered yesterday. It became clear quickly. His lower lumbar region, specifically L1, L2 vertebrae, was the key. When she applied pressure there, Minho's entire body responded. Not just sexually, but systemically. Heart rate increased, breathing deepened, pupils dilated. That's, Minho gasped. That's doing something. I can feel, don't move, I'm mapping the exact pressure points. Zara's fingers worked precisely, medical expertise guiding her. Your L1, L2 region controls sympathetic nervous system responses, including sexual function. The surgeon must have targeted this area psychologically, creating association between stimulation here and danger. But my touch, she pressed a specific point. When I apply pressure here, your body recognizes it as medical treatment, not trauma. That's why it responds. So you're bypassing the trauma response through clinical touch? Essentially, your brain has learned Korean medical context equals danger. My touch is so foreign to that context that your nervous system categorizes it differently. It's not triggering your trauma associations. That's brilliant. Horrifying, but brilliant. The surgeon knew exactly what he was doing. Medical torture at its most precise. She continued mapping, but he made one miscalculation. He assumed you'd only ever seek help from Korean doctors, Asian specialists, people within your cultural context. He didn't account for someone completely outside that framework. Zara pressed another sequence of pressure points, and Minho's response was dramatic. His body arched slightly, a sharp intake of breath. "What was that?" he demanded, his voice rough. "Direct neural pathway to sexual function. Your body just responded fully for the first time in 3 years." She checked his pulse, elevated but healthy. "How do you feel?" Like, like I'm human again. Like something broken, just reconnected." His eyes met hers, intense and vulnerable. "Do it again." "Minho, this isn't a cure. This is stimulation bypassing psychological blocks. For lasting healing, we need to address the trauma. I don't care about lasting. I care about feeling something other than broken." His desperation was palpable. "Please, show me it's real. That I can actually—" He didn't finish, but Zara understood. 3 years of dysfunction had convinced him he was permanently destroyed. This response, however temporary, was proof he wasn't. "Okay, but we do this clinically. I'm going to apply the pressure sequence again, measure your full response, document everything. This is medical treatment, not anything else. Understood?" "Understood." Zara worked carefully, applying the pressure point sequence she'd mapped. Watching Minho's body respond, muscles tensing, breathing changing, the undeniable physical evidence that something was working. "It's working," he breathed. "God, it's actually working. Your neural pathways are intact. The dysfunction is purely psychological blocking, and we're bypassing it through context switching." She made notes. "But Minho, this is temporary. The moment I stop providing this stimulation, your brain's protective patterns will return. For permanent healing, you need psychological work." The door burst open. Dr. Park entered with 2 men Zara didn't recognize. "Dr. Dlamini, how fascinating. You've made remarkable progress." His smile was predatory. Far more progress than anticipated. Minho was off the table instantly, his demeanor shifting from vulnerable patient to dangerous boss. "Dr. Park, you weren't summoned. Leave." "I'm afraid I can't do that. You see, I'm not just your referral source. I'm an observer." For the surgeon, his revelation hung in the air like poison. He sent Dr. Dlamini to you deliberately, wanted to see if his theory was correct, that the only way to bypass his programming was through someone so foreign, so outside your context, that your trauma couldn't recognize the threat. Zara's blood ran cold. "You knew? You sent me here knowing I was an experiment?" "Not just an experiment. Proof of concept. The surgeon created the perfect psychological prison. But he also wanted to prove it had one key. Someone like you. Foreign, black, completely removed from Asian medical context. He's been searching for that key to study its mechanism. You, Dr. Dlamini, are that key." "You bastard." Minho's voice was lethal. "You've been reporting to him this entire time." "Of course. How else would the surgeon know his work was holding? How else would he improve his techniques?" Dr. Park gestured to his companions. "And now, we need Dr. Dlamini to come with us. The surgeon wishes to study her methods personally, understand exactly why her touch succeeds." where others fail. She's not going anywhere. Minho moved between them and Zara protectively. You don't have a choice. The surgeon has leverage. Your sister, Shoman's pharmaceutical company, he has evidence of illegal operations that would destroy her. Cooperate, or he exposes everything. Someone can handle herself? Can she handle prison? Can your entire legitimate empire handle that scrutiny? Dr. Park's smile widened. Give us Dr. Dlamini. Let the surgeon study her technique. In exchange, your sister stays protected. Refuse, and we destroy everything you've built to stay legitimate. Zara saw the calculation in Minho's eyes, weighing his sister's safety against hers. She made the decision for him. I'll go, she said. If it means protecting innocent people from your blackmail, I'll cooperate. No. Minho's voice was absolute. You're not going to the surgeon. I know what he does. I won't let that happen to you. You don't have authority to stop me. I'm already your prisoner. Might as well be his, if it accomplishes something. Zara, you don't understand. He won't just study your technique. He'll torture you, experiment on you, try to replicate your ability through force. Then I'll survive it, like you survived it. She met his eyes. Let me go. No. The word was torn from him. I've done terrible things. I've hurt people. But I will not hand you over to the man who destroyed me. I won't be complicit in your torture. How noble, Dr. Park said. But irrelevant. The surgeon's men are already surrounding this compound. You can surrender Dr. Dlamini peacefully, or we take her by force. Your choice. Before anyone could respond, gunfire erupted outside. Shouts, the sounds of a full assault. Secure her, Minho commanded Jihoon, who appeared with security personnel. To Zara. Come with me, now. He grabbed her hand, pulling her through hidden passages as the compound erupted in chaos. Behind them, Dr. Park's men pursued. Around them, Minho's security fought back. They reached an underground garage. Minho shoved her into an armored car. Drive. Don't stop until you're at the airport. Get on a plane to South Africa and never come back to Seoul. What about you? I'm staying, fighting, protecting what's mine. He pressed something into her hand, a phone. It has one contact, your brother Thabo. He's Interpol. He can protect you from the surgeon's network. My brother is... What? Shock froze her. I figured it out yesterday. Why a South African doctor was in Seoul on fellowship while Interpol was investigating medical torture networks. He's been tracking the surgeon. Now he needs to protect you from him. Minho's eyes held hers. I'm sorry. For kidnapping you. For dragging you into this. You deserved better. Minho, if I leave, your healing doesn't matter if you're dead or tortured. Go, please. For the first time, his desperation wasn't for himself. It was for her. The driver started the engine. Zara had seconds to decide. Flee to safety or stay and face whatever came next. She looked at Minho, this broken man who'd held her captive but was now setting her free, who discovered healing through her touch but was willing to sacrifice that healing to save her life. And she realized she couldn't leave him, not to face the surgeon alone, not when she was the only person who could heal what had been broken. I'm not going, she said. Zara, I'm not going. You need me. And she struggled with words. I need to finish what we started. The healing isn't done. You'll be killed or worse. Then we fight together. You protect me with your resources. I heal you with my expertise. We survive this as partners, not as captor and prisoner. That's insane. So is everything about this situation. But I'm staying. She grabbed his hand. Together. Deal? He stared at her like she'd lost her mind. Maybe she had, but she'd made her choice. Together, he agreed. God help us both. They ran back into the compound, into the battle, the chaos, the fight for survival. And Zara realized she was no longer just a doctor helping a patient. She was a woman fighting beside the man she was healing, even if that fight might kill them both. The battle for the compound lasted 2 hours. Minho's security forces were well trained and fiercely loyal, but the surgeon's assault team was surgical in their precision. Fitting, given their leader's obsession. They targeted weak points, used gas to disorient, coordinated their attack with military efficiency. Zara spent those 2 hours in a reinforced safe room with Jihoon and 2 other guards, listening to gunfire and explosions, wondering if Minho would survive. When silence finally fell, Jihoon received a message. "It's over. We held them off. Mr. Kang wants you brought to his office." She found Minho there, bloodied but alive, rage radiating from him as he stood over Dr. Park, restrained, beaten, clearly having given up information. "Tell her," Minho commanded. "Tell Dr. Dlamini everything. Why the surgeon chose her specifically." Dr. Park spat blood. The surgeon has been tracking neurologists worldwide who specialize in trauma and autonomic nervous system disorders. Dr. Dlamini was perfect. Young, brilliant, African, no connections to Korean medical establishment. Financially vulnerable enough to accept a suspicious offer. He arranged her fellowship through intermediaries, positioned her in Seoul, waited for the right moment to deploy her. "Deploy me?" Zara's voice was ice. "I'm not a weapon. To the surgeon, you are. You're proof that his torture technique has a specific antidote, someone so culturally and racially removed from the victim's context that the trauma programming doesn't recognize them as threat. He wants to study you, understand the mechanism, then create both the poison and the cure. Imagine the power. Being able to destroy someone psychologically through medical torture, then sell the cure to the highest bidder. That's monstrous. That's genius. And you, Dr. Dlamini, are the key to perfecting it. Dr. Park's smile was grotesque. He'll never stop hunting you. You've proven his theory works. He needs to understand how. Minho struck him hard. Where is he? Where is the surgeon operating from? I don't know. He contacts me. I never contact him. That's how he stays hidden. Liar. Another strike. You've been reporting to him for months. You know how to reach him. I swear, I only know a dead drop location in Itaewon. I leave reports there. Someone collects them. I've never seen the surgeon's face. Zara grabbed Minho's arm before he could strike again. Stop. Beating him won't get us better information. Let me try. She pulled up a chair, sitting across from the battered Dr. Park. You're a doctor. You took an oath to do no harm. How do you justify this? The surgeon pays better than ethics. And when he's done with you? When you're no longer useful? Men like him don't keep loose ends. You're already compromised, captured, talking. He'll eliminate you to protect himself. Fear flickered in Dr. Park's eyes. He wouldn't. He absolutely would. Your only chance at survival is cooperating fully. Help us find him, and maybe, you get to live through this. She leaned forward. Tell me about the torture. What exactly did the surgeon do to Minho 3 years ago? I need medical specifics. Dr. Park hesitated, then, neural manipulation combined with psychological programming. The surgeon used drugs to heighten suggestibility, then subjected Mr. Kang to repeated medical examinations designed to create trauma associations. Every time his body responded sexually during those examinations, he was given pain stimulus and racial degradation. His brain learned arousal equals danger, specifically danger from Asian medical contexts. That's Pavlovian conditioning taken to an extreme. It's art. The surgeon spent 2 weeks conditioning Mr. Kang's autonomic nervous system to shut down any sexual response. By the time he was rescued, the programming was complete. Erectile dysfunction with no physical cause, resistant to all standard treatments because the root wasn't physical, it was neurological programming. And you're proud of this? Zara's disgust was palpable. I'm impressed by the precision. Most torture is crude. The surgeon's work is elegant. Minho pulled Zara aside. Enough. He's told us what we need. The dead drop in Itaewon is our lead. What will you do with him? Whatever's necessary to ensure he never works for the surgeon again. His expression was grim. You should leave the room for this. I'm not leaving. If you're going to kill him, I need to witness it. Know exactly who I'm. She stopped. Who I'm helping. I'm not going to kill him. I'm going to turn him over to authorities with full evidence of his involvement in medical torture networks. Let the legal system handle him. Minho's eyes met hers. You asked me earlier if I could trust you to leave and come back. I couldn't, but you stayed anyway. You fought beside me. That changes things. I'm choosing to be the man who does things your way. Legal, ethical, above board. Even when it's harder. Why? Because you're healing more than just my body. You're healing the part of me that stopped caring about right and wrong. And I don't want to lose that. He gestured to Ji-hoon. Take Dr. Park to the secure location. We'll transfer him to Interpol within the hour. After Dr. Park was removed, Minho collapsed into his chair, exhaustion and pain visible now that the crisis had passed. You're hurt, Zara said, noticing blood on his shoulder. Bullet grazed me. It's superficial. Let me examine it. She moved to him, carefully removing his torn shirt. The wound was indeed superficial, but needed cleaning. She worked efficiently, her medical training overriding the intimacy of touching his bare skin. I need to tell you something, Minho said as she worked. About your brother. That he's Interpol? Dr. Park mentioned it, but I had him investigated when you first arrived. Wanted to know everything about you. Discovered Zara Dlamini is an Interpol agent embedded in Seoul, tracking the surgeon's medical torture network. He's been building a case for 2 years. And you didn't tell me? I wasn't sure if you knew. Wasn't sure if you were part of his investigation or genuinely ignorant. But now, he winced as she applied antiseptic. Now I know you had no idea. You're a pawn, like me, moved around by people with agendas we didn't see. I need to contact him, warn him that the surgeon knows about me. Already done. I sent him all our information an hour ago. He's on his way here now. Minho caught her hand. Zara, when he arrives, he's going to try to take you into protective custody. Get you out of Seoul, away from me and this situation. You should go with him. We tried this already. I said I'm staying. That was before you knew the full danger. before you understood that the surgeon will never stop hunting you. Your brother can protect you properly. Interpol resources, international relocation, new identity if necessary. I can't offer you that level of safety, but you can offer me the ability to finish healing you, to complete the work we started. She finished bandaging his shoulder. I'm not running from this. From you. From the medical breakthrough we're achieving. The surgeon may have manipulated me into this situation, but I'm choosing to stay in it now. My choice. Not coercion, not manipulation. Mine. Why? Why would you choose this? Because she struggled with honesty. Because you're not just a patient anymore. Because watching you fight to protect me despite your own trauma showed me who you really are. Because somewhere between captivity and partnership, I started caring about you beyond medical obligation. And that's terrifying and unprofessional and probably incredibly stupid, but it's true. Minho stared at her, something breaking in his expression. Zara, the door burst open. A tall black man in tactical gear stormed in. Gun drawn, Zara Dlamini, protective brother and Interpol agent. Get away from my sister, he commanded, weapon trained on Minho. Thabo, Zara stepped between them. Put the gun down. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You're being held by a crime boss who's using you to cure his... He stopped, clearly uncomfortable with the specifics. Using you medically against your will. I'm extracting you. Now. I'm not being held. Not anymore. I'm staying voluntarily. You have Stockholm Syndrome. You don't know what you're saying. Thabo moved to grab her arm. We're leaving. Interpol has a safe house. I don't have Stockholm Syndrome. I'm making an informed choice to stay and continue medical treatment that's... She took a breath. Thabo, I'm helping someone heal from medical torture. Real torture. The kind that destroys people from the inside. I can't walk away from that. The man holding you prisoner isn't some victim. He's Kang Minho, head of the pharmaceutical black market, responsible for countless deaths from illegal drug distribution. I know who he is. I also know what was done to him. And I know I'm the only person who can help heal it. She stood her ground. I'm staying. You can either accept that and work with us, or leave. But I'm not going into protective custody. Zara, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. For once in my life, I'm choosing what I want instead of what's expected. Her voice rose. You've spent your whole life protecting me. I appreciate it. But I'm 26 years old, and I'm making my own choice. Trust me, please. Thabo looked between his sister and Minho, fury and fear warring on his face. Finally, he lowered his weapon. Fine, you want to stay? Stay. But I'm not leaving Seoul. I'm setting up surveillance, protection, everything Interpol can provide. And Minho, he turned lethal attention to the crime boss. If anything happens to her, if she's hurt in any way, if you use her again without her consent, I will destroy you. Interpol resources or not. Brother's promise. Understood, Minho said calmly. I'd expect nothing less. After Thabo left, reluctantly to coordinate with his team, Zara sank into a chair, exhausted. Your brother is terrifying. He's protective, always has been. She looked at Minho. Are you okay? With him knowing everything? With Interpol watching? I'm okay with whatever keeps you safe, even if it means my operations being scrutinized. He moved to sit beside her. Zara, Your brother is right about one thing. I'm dangerous. My world is violent. Staying close to me means staying in danger. I know, but staying close to you also means potentially solving a medical mystery that could help other torture survivors. Worth the risk. Is it? Really? Ask me again when we're both healed. You from your trauma, me from whatever psychological damage I'm accumulating by falling for my former captor. She smiled slightly. We're both insane. Might as well be insane together. Together, he echoed. Then, I need to tell you something else. About my sister Soman. The leverage the surgeon has. It's real. Her pharmaceutical company has been engaged in illegal trials, bribing officials, cutting corners. If that's exposed, she goes to prison, and our family's legitimate businesses collapse. So the surgeon can still blackmail you. Yes, which means we need to move first, expose the illegal operations ourselves, cooperate with authorities, take the hit before he can use it as leverage. It'll cost us, financially, reputationally, but it removes his power. That's remarkably ethical for a crime boss. You're rubbing off on me, in multiple ways. His slight smile faded. But it means war. Full war. The surgeon will retaliate when he realizes we've neutralized his leverage. Things are going to get more dangerous before they get better. Then we prepare. We fight smart. And we keep healing you while fighting him. She took his hand. Partners? Partners, he agreed. God help us both. But as they sat there, hands clasped, both knew the worst was yet to come. The surgeon wouldn't stop until he had what he wanted. Zara's technique, Minho's destruction, and proof that his medical torture methods were perfectible. And they had days, maybe hours, before his next move. Together they'd face it, or die trying. Over the next 48 hours, everything accelerated. Minho coordinated with Thabo and Interpol, providing evidence of his sister Soman's illegal pharmaceutical operations. The betrayal hurt. His own sister cutting corners, risking lives for profit. But it was necessary to remove the surgeon's leverage. Zara continued Minho's treatment, working intensively to understand the precise neural mechanisms that made her touch effective. She documented everything, building a protocol that could potentially help other survivors of similar torture. But the breakthrough came unexpectedly during a late-night session in the medical suite. I need to try something different, Zara said, reviewing her notes. We've been focusing on neural pressure points, but I think there's a psychological component we're missing. Your trauma isn't just neurological, it's emotional. We need to address both simultaneously. What do you propose? Exposure therapy combined with neural work. You tell me about the torture, specifically what the surgeon did, while I work on the pressure points. Your brain needs to learn that discussing the trauma while experiencing my touch doesn't result in danger. It rewrites the association. Minho's entire body tensed. You want me to relive it while you're touching me? I want you to process it while experiencing safety. That's how trauma healing works, creating new neural pathways that associate the traumatic memory with present safety instead of past danger. She moved closer. I know it's terrifying, but I'll be here. You're safe, and we stop the moment it's too much. He was quiet for a long time. Then, okay, where do I start? Start with the beginning. How were you captured? Ambush. 3 years ago, I was meeting a supplier in Incheon, routine business, They hit us with tranquilizers, killed my guards, took me. His voice was steady, clinical. I woke up in a medical facility, sterile, professional, terrifying in its precision. Zara began working on his lower spine as he talked, applying the pressure point sequence that had proven effective. What happened when you woke? The surgeon introduced himself. Never saw his face. He wore a surgical mask always. But his voice, Minho's breathing hitched. Cold. Scientific. He explained what he was going to do. Said he'd perfected a technique for destroying powerful men without leaving physical evidence. Psychological castration through medical conditioning. That must have been terrifying. I thought I was strong enough to resist. I was wrong. His hands clenched. He started with drugs, sedatives mixed with stimulants, creating a state where I was conscious but suggestible. Then he'd perform examinations, medical, clinical, but designed to trigger arousal. And every time my body responded, he'd introduce pain, electric shocks, pressure points that created agony, combined with psychological attacks, telling me Asian men were inferior, that my masculinity was weakness, that I deserved this humiliation. Zara felt sick, but kept working, her hands steady on his spine. The racial component, that was deliberate psychological torture. It was designed to make me internalize shame, not just about the torture, but about my race, my identity, my body. He wanted me to hate myself so thoroughly that even if I escaped, I'd still be his prisoner. Minho's voice cracked, and it worked. For 3 years, I've been exactly what he made me. Broken, ashamed, unable to function. You're not broken. You're responding to trauma exactly as your nervous system was conditioned to respond. That's not weakness. That's neurology. She pressed a specific sequence. What happened during the rescue? My people found the location after 2 weeks. Stormed it. Killed everyone except the surgeon. He escaped. By then, the damage was done. I was physically intact, but psychologically destroyed. I couldn't, he struggled. I tried, multiple times, with partners, with professionals, alone. Nothing worked. My body just shut down, and every failure reinforced what the surgeon had programmed into me, that I was less than, broken, permanently damaged, until me, until you. And I don't understand why. Why does your touch work when everyone else's failed? Because I'm outside the trauma context completely. South African, Black, foreign medical training, no connection to Korean medical establishment or the cultural shame the surgeon weaponized against you. Her hands moved precisely. Your brain categorizes me as safe because I don't fit any of the danger patterns he created. I'm a neural pathway bypass, accessing the functioning system beneath the trauma programming. That's incredibly specific. The surgeon's torture was incredibly specific. He targeted you with surgical precision. So the antidote has to be equally precise. She paused. Minho, I need to ask something difficult. During the torture, did the surgeon or his associates ever mention why they chose you specifically? What prompted this level of targeted cruelty? Minho was silent for so long, Zara thought he wouldn't answer. Then, yes, he told me. Said I represented everything he hated. Powerful Asian man, controlling resources, respected in criminal circles. He wanted to prove that Asian masculinity was a facade he could destroy with science, that we were all pretenders he could unmask through medical torture. That's not just torture. That's racialized hate crime using medical methodology. I know, but knowing doesn't change what he did, doesn't undo the programming. His voice was hollow. I've spent 3 years being exactly what he wanted, proof that his methods work, living evidence of his genius. No, you've spent 3 years surviving, and now you're healing. That's not proof of his genius. That's proof of your resilience. Zara moved to face him, her hands on his shoulders. Look at me. The surgeon tried to destroy you. He failed. You're still here, still fighting, still capable of healing. That's not brokenness. That's strength he couldn't break. I don't feel strong. I feel... He struggled for words. Vulnerable, human, capable of feeling again? She met his eyes. That's what healing feels like. It's not weakness. It's recovery. Something shifted in Minho's expression. When you touch me, I don't just feel physical response. I feel safe. Like for the first time in 3 years, I'm not constantly defending against danger. Is that normal? That's exactly what should happen. Your nervous system is learning that not all touch is threat. That medical examination can be healing instead of torture. That you can be vulnerable without being destroyed. She hesitated. How do you feel right now, after talking through the trauma while I work? Different. Less trapped. Like the memories are becoming just memories instead of active wounds. He caught her hands. You're healing me. Really healing me. Not just the physical symptoms, but the psychological damage underneath. We're healing you. Together. This is collaborative work. I provide the technique. You provide the courage to face the trauma. She started to pull away, but he held her hands. Zara, I need to tell you something about how I feel about you. Minho, don't. You're in a vulnerable state, experiencing breakthrough healing. Feelings get complicated. My feelings aren't complicated. They're clear. His intensity was overwhelming. I'm falling for you. Have been since that first night when you helped with my nightmare. You show me compassion I don't deserve, patience I've never earned, healing I'd given up hoping for. That's not confusion or gratitude. That's... He stopped. I don't know how to name it, but it's real. That's transference. Patience developing feelings for healers is textbook psychology. Stop hiding behind clinical terminology. This isn't transference. This is me, genuinely falling for the woman who sees me as human instead of monster, who fights beside me instead of running, who's healing me while I'm literally holding her prisoner. He laughed bitterly. I'm the worst possible person you could fall for. And yet I am, Zara admitted quietly. Falling for you, despite every ethical boundary, every rational objection, every reason this is a terrible idea. I care about you, as a person, not just a patient, and that terrifies me. Why terrifying? Because you're still dangerous. Your world is violent. The surgeon is hunting us. My brother is monitoring everything. This entire situation is a disaster waiting to explode. And in the middle of all that chaos, she touched his face gently. I'm falling for you anyway. That's either brave or incredibly stupid. Both. Definitely both. He leaned into her touch. What do we do about this? About us? I don't know. Focus on healing you first, surviving the surgeon. Then maybe we figure out if what we feel is real or just trauma bonding and proximity. It's real, Minho said with certainty, but I understand waiting, wanting to be sure. I can do that, as long as you don't disappear. I'm not disappearing, The door burst open. Jihoon, looking panicked. "Sir, we have a problem. Your sister Somin is here, with lawyers and police. She knows you're turning evidence against her." "Damn it." Minho stood, his demeanor shifting instantly from vulnerable patient to commanding boss. "How did she find out so quickly?" "Someone leaked it. We're trying to find the source." "No need. I know the source." Minho's expression was grim. "The surgeon. He told her I was moving against her, forcing her to act before we could turn over the evidence. He's accelerating his timeline." Zara felt the walls closing in. "What does that mean?" "It means we're out of time. Somin will fight the exposure, tie it up in legal battles, delay everything, maybe even come after us directly. And while she's doing that, the surgeon will make his move." Minho turned to Jihoon. "Full security protocols. Protect Dr. Dlamini at all costs. And contact Interpol. We need Thabo here, now." "Minho, what's happening?" "The endgame. The surgeon is forcing all the pieces into play simultaneously. Soman's exposure, your brother's investigation, our healing work. He's using all of it to create chaos. And in that chaos," his jaw clenched, "he'll come for you. He needs to study your technique before we can publicize it. Before other survivors can be helped. You're his last chance to perfect his torture method." "Then we protect her," Jihoon said firmly. "No," Zara interrupted. "We use me as bait. Draw the surgeon out. End this permanently." "Absolutely not. It's the only way. He won't stop until he has me, or he's dead. So we control the encounter. Set a trap. Finish this." She looked between them. "I'm not going to spend my life running from a monster who tortures people for science. Better to face him now, on our terms." "She's right." Thabo's voice came from the doorway. He'd arrived with Interpol backup. "The surgeon has been 3 steps ahead this entire time. Only way to stop him is to stop reacting and start acting. We set a trap. Use Dr. Dlamini as bait. But we do it with full Interpol support and complete tactical planning." "You're talking about using your sister as bait," Minho said incredulously. "I'm talking about trusting my sister to make her own choices, even when they terrify me." Thabo's expression was hard. "But if we do this, we do it right. Maximum protection, every contingency planned, exit strategies everywhere. Agreed?" Zara nodded. "Agreed." Minho looked like he wanted to argue, to forbid it, to lock her away, where the surgeon could never reach her. But he saw the determination in her eyes and realized she'd made her choice. "Fine. We set a trap. But I'm there. Front line. Whatever happens to her happens to me first." "That's the plan," Thabo said grimly. "Now let's figure out how to catch a monster." The trap was set for 48 hours later. Dr. Hunt Park, now in Interpol custody, had agreed to cooperate in exchange for reduced charges. He'd contact the surgeon through the dead drop, claiming Minho was willing to trade Zara's technique documentation in exchange for immunity from further attacks. The meeting location: an abandoned pharmaceutical facility in Incheon, the same district where Minho had been captured 3 years ago. "Poetic," Minho said bitterly when Thabo proposed it. "Facing him where it all started." "Strategic," Thabo corrected. "It's territory he'll feel confident in, making him more likely to appear personally rather than send intermediaries. We need him there, the actual surgeon, not his proxies." The plan was intricate. Zara would arrive with doctored files, medical documentation, that looked legitimate, but was actually useless. Minho would be with her, ostensibly making the trade. Thabo and Interpol tactical teams would be hidden throughout the facility. The moment the surgeon revealed himself, they'd close the trap. But Zara couldn't shake her unease. "What if he doesn't come?" she asked Minho the night before the operation. They were in his private quarters. She'd stopped sleeping in the guest suite days ago, their connection evolving beyond doctor-patient despite the danger. "Then we regroup. Try again. We keep trying until we catch him." Minho pulled her closer on the couch, where they sat reviewing plans. "But he'll come. His obsession with perfecting his method, he can't resist the chance to get your documentation." "What if he sees through the trap? Then Interpol extracts us, and we disappear. You, me, somewhere the surgeon can't reach. I have resources. I'm not running. I told you that. I know, but the offer stands. If tomorrow goes wrong, if you're in danger, I'm getting you out, even if it means losing my chance at revenge. This isn't about revenge. It's about stopping him from hurting others. For you, maybe. For me?" His expression darkened. "I want him to suffer. Want him to feel a fraction of what he put me through. That's not noble. That's vengeance. You're allowed to want vengeance. He tortured you for 2 weeks and destroyed 3 years of your life. Anyone would want revenge. But you'd want justice. Legal, ethical, by-the-book justice." He touched her face gently. "You make me want to be better than my worst impulses. Make me want to handle this your way instead of mine. That's new for me." "What would your way be?" "Painful, prolonged. Everything he did to me returned tenfold. I'd make him beg for death." His voice was cold, detached. "Then I'd deny him that mercy. Keep him alive but broken. Perfect revenge." Zara should have been horrified, should have pulled away from this man capable of such calculated cruelty. Instead, she understood. "But you won't do that. You'll let Interpol take him. Let the legal system handle it. Because you're asking me to. And somehow, your opinion matters more than my rage." He kissed her forehead. "You're healing more than just my body, Zara. You're healing the part of me that stopped seeing people as human and started seeing them as obstacles or assets. That's uncomfortable, but necessary. Character growth is always uncomfortable. Is that your medical opinion? That's my personal observation. I'm growing too, learning that sometimes the right choice isn't the safe choice. That caring about someone means accepting their darkness along with their light. That maybe," she hesitated, "maybe love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone whose damage fits with yours. Are you saying you love me?" His voice was careful, controlled, but his eyes were vulnerable. "I'm saying I'm terrified of how much I care about you. And tomorrow, I'm walking into danger with you. If something goes wrong, if I don't get the chance to say this," she took a breath. "Yes, I love you. Stupidly, unprofessionally, probably unhealthily given our circumstances. But honestly." He kissed her then, deep, desperate, full of need and fear, and something tender underneath all that intensity. "I love you too. Have since you refused to leave when you had the chance. Since you chose to stay and fight beside me instead of running to safety, you're—" He struggled for words. "Everything I didn't know I needed." They made love that night. Careful, tender, Zara's medical knowledge guiding them through what worked for Minho's healing body. It wasn't perfect. His trauma still created challenges, but it was real, connected, full of emotion beyond just physical release. Afterward, lying tangled together, Minho said quietly, "If tomorrow goes wrong, if the surgeon gets to you, he won't. But if he does, I need you to know, you gave me my life back. Not just my body functioning, but my humanity, my hope, my ability to feel something other than rage and emptiness. Whatever happens tomorrow, you've already saved me. Nothing's going to happen. We're going to catch him, end this, and then figure out what comes next for us. Together." Together, he agreed. But neither of them slept well that night. The pharmaceutical facility in Incheon was exactly as grim as Zara had imagined. Abandoned for years, windows broken, graffiti covering walls, the smell of decay and chemical residue permeating everything. Interpol had swept it for explosives and traps, declared it secure, positioned tactical teams in hidden locations throughout the complex. Zara and Minho entered through the main entrance at exactly 8 p.m., as arranged. She carried a briefcase with the doctored medical files. He was armed, tense, every sense on high alert. "He's here," Minho whispered. "I can feel it." They walked through the facility toward the designated meeting point, a large room that had once been a laboratory, now stripped bare except for a single table and chair in the center. Sitting in the chair, wearing a surgical mask just as Minho had described, was the surgeon. "Mr. Kang, how nostalgic meeting here." His voice was exactly as Zara had imagined, cold, clinical, devoid of empathy. "And you must be Dr. Dlamini, the woman who broke my perfect creation. I'm honored to finally meet you." "I didn't break anything. I'm healing what you destroyed." "Semantics. You found the vulnerability in my work, the foreign element, the cultural outsider who bypasses the psychological programming. Brilliant, really. I should have accounted for that variable." He stood, and Zara noticed he moved with precision, control. "That's why I need your documentation, to understand the mechanism, incorporate it into future work. Imagine creating psychological destruction with a built-in cure that only specific types of people can provide. The applications are endless. The applications are monstrous," Minho said. "You're not getting her research. You're going to prison. Interpol has this building surrounded." "Do they?" The surgeon's laugh was chilling. "How predictable. Of course you'd set a trap. Of course you'd think you're 3 steps ahead." He pulled out a device. "But I've been doing this longer than your girlfriend has been alive, and I have a trap of my own." He pressed the button. Explosions rocked the facility. Not bombs, but gas canisters. Sedative gas flooding the complex. "No." Minho lunged forward, but the surgeon was faster, injecting something into his neck. Minho collapsed. Zara tried to run, but hands grabbed her from behind. The surgeon's associates, hidden, waiting for exactly this moment. "Sleep, Dr. Dlamini," the surgeon said as something sharp pricked her arm. "When you wake, we'll have so much fun exploring exactly how your technique works, through experimentation, just like I experimented on Mr. Kang." The world went dark. Zara woke to clinical lighting and restraints. She was strapped to a medical table in what looked like a fully equipped surgical suite. Monitoring equipment beeped around her, and standing over her, still masked, was the surgeon. "Good, you're conscious. I prefer my subjects aware during the initial examination." He held up a syringe. "This is a suggestibility enhancer. Same drug I used on Mr. Kang, It will make you cooperative, while you maintain consciousness and memory of everything that happens. Important for the research. You see, I need you to remember the techniques I use so you can tell me later if they're recreating what you did to Minho. You're insane. Zara tried to fight the restraints, but they were professionally secured. Interpol knows where I am. Interpol is currently unconscious from sedative gas, as is Mr. Kang and your protective brother. They'll wake in several hours, track my location, attempt a rescue. By then, I'll have what I need and be long gone. With you. He prepared the injection. Any last words before we begin? Yes. Go to hell. How predictable. He injected the drug, and Zara felt her consciousness shifting, still aware, still herself, but her resistance weakening. Now, let's begin the examination. Tell me, Dr. Dlamini, when you touch Mr. Kang's L1, L2 vertebrae, what exact pressure points do you use? She tried to resist. Tried to stay silent, but the drug worked exactly as he'd designed, lowering inhibitions, making her want to answer, to comply, to cooperate. Specific neural pathways, she heard herself say, corresponding to sympathetic nervous system activation? Excellent. Show me, on this diagram. He held up a medical illustration, and she found herself pointing, explaining, detailing every technique she'd developed, hating herself for cooperating, but unable to stop. This was what he'd done to Minho. This helpless compliance while maintaining full awareness. This violation of autonomy using medical science as weapon. Fascinating, the surgeon said, taking notes. Your technique is elegant, precise, based on sound neurological principles. With this information, I can replicate it. Train others in the method. Perhaps even... His eyes gleamed above the mask. Perhaps even reverse engineer it. Create a technique that blocks healing rather than enables it. The ultimate torture, giving hope, then destroying it permanently. You're a monster, Zara said, the drug making her honest, beyond what was wise. Using medicine to torture, you're everything doctors are supposed to stand against. I'm evolution. Medicine has always been about power. Who lives, who dies, who suffers, who heals. I've simply refined that power into art. He pulled out another syringe. Now, let's test your technique. I'm going to apply the pressure points you described to your own body. See if the foreign element hypothesis holds when the subject is the healer herself. Terror cut through the drug's fog. What? Scientific method, Dr. Dlamini. I need to understand if your effectiveness is about being foreign specifically or about something in your neurological makeup. Best way to test? Experiment on you directly. He moved toward her with clinical efficiency. And Zara realized she wasn't just going to be forced to reveal her techniques. She was going to become his next long-term torture subject, just like Minho had been. The perfect symmetry, destroying the healer the same way he destroyed her patient. She screamed for help, knowing no one could hear, screamed for Minho, hoping somehow he'd come. But the surgeon just smiled behind his mask and began his work. And Zara learned exactly what medical torture felt like. Minho woke to chaos. Interpol agents were regaining consciousness throughout the facility, coughing from the sedative gas. Thabo was shouting orders, coordinating search teams. But Zara was gone. Where is she? Minho demanded, his head pounding from whatever the surgeon had injected. Where's Zara? He took her, Thabo said, his voice raw with fury and fear. Surveillance shows him loading her into a van 20 minutes ago. We're tracking it, but... He stopped, his control fracturing. He has my sister. That monster has my sister. Then we get her back. Minho forced himself to focus through the drug haze. Dr. Park, he knows the surgeon's backup locations, where he'd take a subject for long-term work. Dr. Park is in custody, hours away. Then we make him talk remotely. Now. I don't care how. Threaten him, bribe him, promise him anything. We need a location in the next 10 minutes, or Zara... His voice broke. We need to move fast. Thabo was already on the phone, barking orders. Get Dr. Park on video call. Tell him full immunity if he gives us the surgeon's location. Tell him we'll bury him in the darkest hole if he doesn't. Move. While they waited, Minho tried to think past his panic. The surgeon had taken Zara to study her technique through torture. That meant he needed time, privacy, equipment. Not a temporary location, a fully equipped facility. Pharmaceutical plants, Minho said suddenly. The surgeon needs medical equipment, surgical tools, monitoring systems. He'd use an abandoned pharmaceutical facility. There are dozens throughout Korea. We've been tracking those, Thabo said. Nothing's shown activity. Because he's smart. He'd use a facility that's officially decommissioned, but still has power, water, basic infrastructure. Somewhere authorities wouldn't check because it's properly shut down. Minho pulled up files on his phone. I have contacts in the pharmaceutical black market. Facilities that are off books. Give me 2 minutes. He made 3 calls, each more threatening than the last, leveraging every connection and favor he had. On the 3rd call, someone gave him a location. Bucheon, abandoned Hanseong pharmaceutical facility, officially demolished 5 years ago. But the demolition was faked. Buildings still intact, just hidden behind false facades. Perfect place for secret operations. That's 40 minutes from here, Thabo calculated. If he's been gone 20 minutes, then we have 20 minutes before he's too deep into whatever he's doing to her. Minho was already moving. I'm going. With or without Interpol backup. You're going with backup, my backup. Thabo gestured to his team. But understand something. This is an Interpol operation. We take the surgeon alive if possible, for prosecution, evidence, closing the case properly. And if it's not possible, if saving Zara means killing him, then we save Zara. Brother's promise and agent's oath both point the same direction. Her life matters more than his arrest. Thabo's expression was lethal. Let's move. The facility in Bucheon was exactly as described, hidden behind false demolition facades, but clearly operational inside. Infrared showed heat signatures in the basement, 2 guards at entrance, and deeper inside, a surgical suite with multiple signatures, one restrained on a table. Zara. We go in fast. Thabo coordinated. Neutralize guards quietly. Secure perimeter. Converge on surgical suite simultaneously. Priority 1, extract Dr. Dlamini. Priority 2, capture the surgeon. Rules of engagement, whatever force necessary to protect the hostage. Minho had his own gun drawn, safety off, every instinct screaming to charge in immediately. But Thabo's tactical approach was smarter. They moved as a unit, Interpol agents and Minho's security forces working together, united by single purpose. The guards fell quickly, silently. The facility was breached. They moved through corridors, clearing rooms, converging on the basement surgical suite. Through a small window in the door, Minho saw her. Zara, strapped to a table, clearly drugged but conscious, crying, and the surgeon, working on her with clinical precision, taking notes while she writhed in pain. Rage beyond anything Minho had ever felt consumed him. On three, Thabo whispered. 1, 2. Minho didn't wait for 3. He kicked the door open, gun raised, and fired, not at the surgeon, at the equipment monitoring Zara, destroying it, creating chaos and distraction. Interpol agents poured in. The surgeon's assistants tried to fight, were quickly subdued. And the surgeon himself made a decision. He lunged for Zara with a scalpel, clearly intending to kill his test subject rather than lose her. Minho fired again. The shot hit the surgeon's shoulder, spinning him away from Zara. Thabo and his team secured the surgeon, weapons trained on him. "Don't move! You're under arrest!" But Minho was already at Zara's side, frantically releasing her restraints. "I'm here. You're safe. I've got you." Minho, her voice was slurred from drugs, traumatized, but conscious. "He made me tell him everything, all my techniques. He knows now. I don't care what he knows. You're alive. That's all that matters." He lifted her carefully, and she collapsed against him, crying. It hurt. What he did, it hurt so much. I know, but it's over. He can't hurt you anymore." He held her as medical personnel arrived, checking her vitals, documenting injuries. The surgeon, restrained and wounded, still had the audacity to speak. Fascinating. The patient becomes the rescuer. "Tell me, Mr. Kang, did saving her feel like reclaiming your masculinity? Like proving I didn't break you, after all?" Minho handed Zara to the medics and walked to where the surgeon was restrained. "No. Saving her felt like choosing love over revenge, choosing her life over your death, choosing to be the man she's been healing me to become instead of the monster you tried to create. How touching. But you're still broken. I made sure of that. 3 years of dysfunction. 2 months of healing. Her healing. She's undone your work more effectively than you could have imagined. I'm functioning again. Not perfectly, but recovering. Because she taught me something you never understood. Trauma can be healed when there's safety, care, and someone willing to fight for you." Minho's smile was cold. "You failed. Your perfect torture. It had an antidote, and she found it. Then I'll study her methods in prison. Replicate them. Perfect them. You'll rot in prison, unable to touch another patient." Thabo interrupted. "We have everything. Your victims' testimonies, medical records, evidence of torture across multiple countries. You're looking at life in international criminal court. No parole, no mercy, no more experiments." The surgeon laughed, even restrained and defeated. "You think prison stops me? I have followers, students who learned my methods. My work will continue." "Not if I can help it." Zara's voice came from where the medics were treating her. She was weak, but determined. "I'm publishing everything. My techniques for healing psychogenic trauma, making them public, free, available to every doctor and therapist worldwide. Your torture method? It has a cure now, and everyone will know it. You can't use ignorance as weapon anymore. You'll never get them right. My programming is too complex. I experienced it personally for 2 hours. I know exactly what you do, and more importantly, I know how to undo it." Despite her obvious pain, her voice was strong. "You lose. Your work becomes obsolete. the moment I publish. You're not a genius. You're just a sad man who used medicine to hurt people. And that ends today. Something in the surgeon's eyes changed. Fury, fear, realization that he'd truly been defeated. Get him out of here, Thabo commanded. International custody, maximum security. I want him in The Hague by tomorrow. As Interpol removed the surgeon, Minho returned to Zara's side. How bad is it? The damage? Psychological, mostly, the medic reported. Some physical trauma from restraints and examination, but nothing permanent. The drug he used will wear off in a few hours, but she'll need psychological support. What she experienced was significant trauma. Then she gets the best support available. Minho looked at Zara. Whatever you need. Therapy, time, space, anything. I need you, she said simply. Need to know you're real. That we survived this. That he didn't win. He didn't win. You're alive. I'm healing. We're together. That's victory. He kissed her forehead gently. Let's get you somewhere safe. Somewhere you can recover. Your compound. Wherever you feel safest. Your choice. Always your choice now. Then your compound. With you. Where this all started. Let's finish the healing there. Together. 3 days later, back at Minho's compound, Zara was recovering slowly. The physical wounds were minor. The psychological trauma was harder. Nightmares about the surgeon, flashbacks to the torture, anxiety about medical examinations, even though she was the doctor. I understand now, she told Minho one night, when nightmares woke her. What you've been living with for 3 years. The way trauma hijacks your nervous system, makes everything feel dangerous, even when you know intellectually it's not. Welcome to the club. Membership is terrible, but the company's good. He held her close. You'll heal, I promise. Just like you healed me. What if I can't? What if the surgeon broke something in me that can't be fixed? Then I'll do what you did for me. Stay beside you, believe in your healing even when you can't. Remind you every day that trauma doesn't define you. His voice was fierce. You saved me. Now I save you. That's partnership. Even if I'm not the strong, confident doctor anymore. Even if I'm broken like you were. Especially then. Because you taught me. Broken people can heal each other. We just need patience, safety, and someone who won't give up on us. He kissed her softly. I'm not giving up on you. Ever. She cried then, relief, grief, fear, love, all mixed together. And Minho held her through it, just as she'd held him through his darkest moments. Healing wasn't linear. It wasn't clean or easy. But it was possible. Together, they'd prove that every single day. 2 months after the surgeon's capture, life began resembling something almost normal. The international trial was underway in The Hague. The surgeon facing charges for medical torture across multiple countries. Zara and Minho both testified via video link, their statements damning and detailed. Thabo coordinated with Interpol to ensure every victim who could be found had their voice heard. 16 victims identified so far, Thabo told them during one of his updates. Powerful men from 8 countries, all suffering from psychogenic dysfunction created through the surgeon's torture. Your published techniques have helped 7 of them begin recovery. The others are still resistant, traumatized in ways that require more intensive intervention. I want to help them, Zara said. She'd been working with a trauma therapist herself, processing what the surgeon had done to her. The work was slow, painful, but effective. If they'll accept treatment from me, I understand if they don't. Seeing someone who experienced similar trauma might be triggering. 3 have specifically requested consultation with you. They see you as proof that healing is possible. Thabo studied his sister carefully. Are you sure you're ready? You're still recovering yourself. I'm functional, and helping others helps me process. Gives meaning to what happened. She looked at Minho. We could offer treatment here. The medical suite is equipped. We'd provide a safe space for survivors to heal. Turn my compound into a recovery center for torture survivors? Minho considered. That's actually perfect. Redemption through service. Using the space where I was broken to help others heal. Your criminal activities have officially ceased, Thabo reminded him. As part of your cooperation agreement, no more black market operations. I know. I'm legitimate now. Strange feeling. Minho's smile was slight. But Zara's right. Turning this place into a healing center would be meaningful work. We have resources, space, expertise. Why not use it for something good? Because running a medical facility requires licensing, oversight, regulations, which will follow. Completely legally, Zara will be medical director. I'll provide funding and administration. We'll build something that actually helps people instead of exploiting them. His determination was clear. I'm done being the man the surgeon tried to create. Time to be someone better. Over the next month, they worked intensively to make it happen. Licensing applications filed, medical staff hired, the compound transformed from fortress to healing center. Zara led the medical design, incorporating everything she'd learned about trauma-informed care. Their first patient arrived on a cold November morning, a Japanese executive who'd been tortured by the surgeon 4 years ago. He was skeptical, broken, certain nothing could help. I've tried everything, he told Zara during intake. Every specialist in Tokyo. Nothing works. I'm permanently destroyed. That's what I thought, too, Minho said, joining the session. For 3 years, I was convinced the surgeon had broken me beyond repair. Then Dr. Dlamini showed me that healing was possible. Not easy, not quick, but possible. You're the Korean one, the one whose recovery proved her techniques work. The man studied Minho. How long did it take? To feel normal again? I'm still working on normal. But functional? 3 months of intensive treatment. And it's not just physical. The psychological healing takes longer. I still have nightmares, still struggle with anxiety, but I'm living again instead of just surviving. That's progress. And you? The man turned to Zara. You were tortured by him too. How do you manage treating others when you're still healing yourself? Carefully, with support. With therapy of my own, and with the understanding that helping others helps me process. Zara's honesty was disarming. I'm not going to pretend I'm fully healed or that this work isn't hard, but it's meaningful, and meaning helps trauma survivors more than almost anything. The man considered, then nodded. Okay, I'll try, but I need to know what you do, this technique. Is it really based on science, or is it just luck, placebo? It's neurological science. Let me explain exactly what the surgeon did to you and how we bypass it. Zara spent the next hour walking him through the neurology of psychogenic dysfunction, showing him brain scans, explaining pressure points and neural pathways. By the end, he looked less hopeless and more intrigued. That's incredibly specific. And you can teach this to other doctors? I'm already teaching it. We have a training program starting next month for neurologists and trauma specialists worldwide. The surgeon's methods will become obsolete because everyone will know the antidote. Zara smiled. His legacy won't be torture. It'll be the healing techniques developed to undo his work. 3 weeks into treatment, the Japanese executive had his first positive response. Not full function, but enough to prove the technique worked on someone other than Minho. The victory was celebrated quietly, respect for the patient's privacy, but internally, the entire team felt hope surge. It's replicable, Zara told Minho that night. My technique works on other survivors. That means we can actually help people systematically, not just through luck or coincidence. You're building something revolutionary, medical protocols for treating torture survivors that actually work. Minho pulled her close on the couch where they'd spent so many evenings talking through cases. I'm proud of you, of what you've created from horror. We created it, this center, this work. It's both of us. Your resources made it possible. Your testimony gave it credibility. Your healing proved it works. She kissed him softly. Partnership, remember? Best partnership I've ever had, even if it started with kidnapping. Especially because it started with kidnapping. We learned each other under the worst circumstances. If we can survive that, we can survive anything. Speaking of surviving, Minho pulled out a small box. I've been waiting for the right moment to ask this. Wasn't sure if now was right, but he opened the box, revealing a ring. Simple, elegant, a single diamond. Marry me, not because of obligation or circumstance, because I love you, because you're my partner in everything, because I want to spend my life healing beside you and building something meaningful together. Zara stared at the ring, emotions overwhelming her. Minho, we've only known each other 4 months. 4 months that included kidnapping, torture, international crime investigations, and starting a medical facility. I think we've covered more ground than most couples do in years. His slight smile faded. But if you need more time, I understand. This can wait. No, it doesn't need to wait. She held out her hand. Yes, I'll marry you, even though this is crazy, even though we're both still healing. Even though your proposal started with speaking of surviving, which is possibly the least romantic transition ever. He laughed, genuine, joyful, and slid the ring onto her finger. I'll work on my romantic skills. Please don't. I like you honest and awkward. She kissed him deeply. Besides, traditional romance is overrated. We're building something better. Partnership based on surviving hell together. That should be our wedding vows. We survived hell together. Might as well make it legal. Our wedding planner will love that. They sat together, newly engaged, planning a future that had seemed impossible 4 months ago. The road from captive to partner, from doctor to fiancé, from broken to healing. It had been brutal, complicated, and absolutely worth it. 2 weeks later, another complication emerged. Minho's sister, Somin. She'd been prosecuted for the pharmaceutical crimes Minho had exposed. But instead of prison time, she'd received probation in exchange for cooperation and restitution. Now she appeared at the compound, requesting to see her brother. Should I see her? Minho asked Zara. She tried to cover up crimes that the surgeon used as leverage. She's part of why you were in danger. She's also your sister, and she served her consequences. Maybe give her a chance. Zara knew family reconciliation wasn't simple, but she believed in the possibility of redemption. I'll be there with you if you want. Soman entered Minho's office, looking diminished. No longer the powerful pharmaceutical executive, but a woman who'd lost everything and was rebuilding. I came to apologize, she said without preamble. For the illegal operations, for giving the surgeon leverage over you, she looked at Zara, for putting you in danger through my choices. I was greedy, reckless, convinced I could cut corners without consequences. I was wrong. Yes, you were, Minho said coldly. Your choices nearly got Zara killed. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life making amends. But I also came to offer something. Funding. For your healing center. I've sold my assets, paid restitution, and I have money remaining. I want to donate it. $10 million to help torture survivors. It doesn't erase what I did, but maybe it helps create something good from my failures. We don't need your money, Minho started. We'll take it, Zara interrupted. $10 million could help hundreds of survivors. Build additional facilities. Fund research. Your money made through cutting corners can now fund healing. That's appropriate justice. Soman looked surprised. You'd accept funding from me? After everything? I'd accept funding from anyone willing to support healing work. Your motivation doesn't change the good the money can do. Zara's pragmatism was clear, but understand, this donation doesn't buy forgiveness or reconciliation. That requires time and changed behavior. It just means you're contributing to something meaningful. I understand, and thank you. Soman turned to Minho. I don't expect forgiveness. I know I destroyed your trust, but I want you to know I'm proud of what you're building here. You've become a better person than I ever was, than our family ever expected. That matters. After she left, Minho exhaled slowly. You just accepted money from my criminal sister. I accepted money that will help people. Where it came from matters less than what it does. Zara studied him. Are you angry? No, you're right. The money can do good, and maybe she is genuinely trying to change. I'm not ready to forgive, but I can accept her help. He pulled Zara close. You make me better at this, at seeing nuance instead of just betrayal, at choosing pragmatism over vengeance. You're already good at those things. I just remind you when trauma makes you forget. Then keep reminding me. For the next 50 years. That's the plan. 6 months after the surgeon's capture, the healing center was thriving. 10 patients in residence, all showing progress. Medical staff of 15, all trained in Zara's techniques. International recognition for pioneering work in trauma recovery. And 2 founders who'd healed each other while healing others. The day before their wedding, Zara and Minho walked the compound grounds, surveying what they'd built. From prison to healing center in 6 months, Minho said. That's surreal. From kidnapper to husband in 6 months is equally surreal. We don't do anything halfway. She leaned against him. Are you nervous? About tomorrow? Terrified. Not about marrying you, about deserving you. You could have anyone. Someone without criminal past, without trauma, without the exact combination of broken and healing that fits with mine. without understanding exactly what surviving trauma costs, without being the most genuine partner I've ever had. She turned to face him. Minho, I don't want anyone. I want you. Damaged, healing, complicated you. That's not settling. That's choosing perfectly. I love you more than I knew was possible. I love you too, even though you kidnapped me, especially because I kidnapped you. Let's not push it. She kissed him. Now come on. We have a wedding to prepare for, and patients who need evening rounds, and about 1,000 things to do before tomorrow. Together? Always together. They walked back toward the center, two people who'd survived hell and built heaven from the ashes. Tomorrow they'd make it official. But really, they'd been married since the moment she chose to stay, since the moment he chose to heal, since the moment they both chose love over fear. Everything else was just paperwork. 1 year after Zara first walked into Minho's compound, the healing center had expanded beyond anyone's expectations. 24 patients in various stages of recovery, a waiting list of survivors from 17 countries, international partnerships with trauma hospitals, and published research that was revolutionizing how medical torture survivors were treated worldwide. Dr. Zara Dlamini Kang stood in the main conference room, presenting their 1-year outcomes to a group of visiting neurologists and trauma specialists from around the world. 83% of patients showed significant improvement in psychogenic dysfunction within 3 months of treatment, she explained, showing data on the screen behind her. 67% achieved full recovery within 6 months. These numbers are unprecedented for this type of trauma-induced condition. What makes your technique so effective compared to traditional approaches? A German neurologist asked. 3 factors. First, we address the neurological component directly through targeted pressure point therapy that bypasses psychological blocks. Second, we incorporate trauma-informed care that prioritizes patient safety and agency, essential for survivors whose trauma involved medical violation. Third, she gestured to Minho, who stood at the back of the room. We have lived experience. My husband and I both survived the same torturer. That credibility matters to patients who've been told their condition is untreatable. After the presentation, Minho found her in their private office. You were brilliant, though I'm still getting used to Dr. Dlamini Kang. The hyphenation is a mouthful. You could have taken my name. Dr. Kang Dlamini sounds equally complicated. She smiled, pulling him close. How are you feeling? Today's a big day. Today marked exactly 1 year since Zara had first treated Minho, since his body had first responded to her touch, since everything had changed. I'm feeling grateful, whole, happier than I've ever been. His hand moved to her stomach, where a small bump was just beginning to show. And terrified about becoming a father in 6 months. We're both terrified, but we'll figure it out, like we figured out everything else. She covered his hand with hers. Our daughter is going to have the most complicated origin story. How did you and Daddy meet? Well, sweetie, Daddy kidnapped Mommy to cure his medical torture-induced erectile dysfunction. Then they fell in love while fighting an international medical torture network. We're definitely using a sanitized version of that story. Daddy hired Mommy as a doctor. They fell in love and built a healing center together. Better? Much better. Leaves out the felonies. They were interrupted by Thabo, who'd become a regular presence at the center, partly to oversee the Interpol partnership, partly to visit his sister and ensure his brother-in-law was treating her well. The surgeon's trial concluded today, he announced. Life imprisonment, no possibility of parole. 16 counts of torture, 8 counts of attempted murder, countless charges related to medical crimes. He'll die in prison. Good, Minho said simply. He can't hurt anyone ever again. He tried to make a statement, claimed his work was misunderstood genius and that prison wouldn't stop his legacy. Thabo's expression was grim, but the judge shut him down, said the only legacy he'd have is as a cautionary tale about medical ethics violations. That his victims' recovery, particularly yours, proved his methods were ultimately failures. That's satisfying, Zara admitted, knowing he'll be remembered not for his torture techniques, but for how his victims overcame them. Justice doesn't always feel as good as we hope, Minho said, but it's still justice, and it's finished. We can move forward without looking over our shoulders. After Thabo left, Zara and Minho walked through the center, checking on patients. Each person represented a victory against the surgeon, proof that his torture could be undone, that healing was possible, that trauma didn't have to be permanent. In one room, they found their first patient, the Japanese executive who'd been so skeptical. He was packing, preparing to return home after 8 months of treatment. I never thought I'd feel normal again, he told them. When I arrived, I was certain I'd be broken forever. But you, he looked at them both, you gave me my life back. Not just my body functioning, but my hope. My belief that healing was possible. I can never repay that. Help someone else heal, Zara said. That's payment enough. Share your story, support other survivors, contribute to the understanding that torture victims can recover. That's how we defeat people like the surgeon, by refusing to stay broken. After he left, Minho pulled Zara into his arms. We did this, built something real from horror. That's miraculous. Not miraculous, just determined. She kissed him softly. We chose healing over bitterness, growth over revenge, building over destroying. That's not miracle, that's daily choice. Then I'm grateful for every day we choose it. 6 months later, their daughter was born. Zara Dlamini Kang, named after Zara's best friend, who'd supported her through everything. Middle name honoring Minho's mother. She was beautiful, healthy, and absolutely demanding. She has your determination, Minho said at 3 a.m. during another feeding. Won't sleep, won't stop crying until she gets exactly what she wants. She has your intensity. Look at those eyes. That's pure Kang stubbornness. Zara laughed despite her exhaustion. We made a person, an actual human person, who will never know about the criminal activities, the torture, the darkness we survived to create her. She gets the healed version of us, the version that chose light. She'll know eventually. When she's older, we'll tell her age-appropriate versions, because our story, as complicated as it is, it's about survival, healing, and choosing love. Those are good lessons. Just minus the kidnapping details until she's at least 30. Agreed. Some details can wait. They sat together in the nursery, this room in a compound that had once been a fortress, then a prison. then a healing center, now a home. Full circle from darkness to light. 5 years after that first meeting, the healing center had become internationally renowned. Zara published 3 books on trauma recovery. Minho had transitioned fully from criminal boss to legitimate philanthropist and administrator. Their daughter was thriving, bright, curious, completely unaware of how unusual her family's origin story was. They stood together at a gala fundraiser, celebrating 5 years of the center's operation. Survivors they'd helped were there, sharing their stories. Doctors they'd trained were presenting their own research. The work had expanded far beyond what they'd imagined. 5 years ago, I was a broken man who kidnapped a doctor to cure me, Minho said during his speech. Today, I'm a husband, father, and advocate for torture survivors. That transformation, it's not mine alone. It's because Dr. Zara Dlamini took a chance on helping someone who didn't deserve it, because she saw potential for healing when everyone else saw permanent damage, because she chose to stay when she could have run. I stayed because I saw who you could become, Zara added, joining him at the podium. Not the man trauma made you, but the man you were underneath. And together, we've helped hundreds of survivors see that in themselves, the possibility beyond the pain. That's what this center is about. Not just curing symptoms, but restoring hope. The applause was thunderous, but what mattered more to both of them was the private moment after, in their office, exhausted but satisfied. We did good work today, Minho said, pulling her close. We do good work every day. Today was just more visible. She leaned into him. Are you happy? Really happy? Or do you miss the power, the danger, the criminal empire? I miss nothing about that life. This, you, Naledi, the center, helping people. This is more fulfilling than any amount of power or money. His honesty was absolute. You gave me everything that matters. Purpose beyond profit, love beyond transaction, a life worth living instead of just surviving. You gave me the same. A partnership I never expected. A family I didn't know I wanted. Work that means everything. She kissed him softly. We healed each other. That's the real miracle. Not a miracle. Just 2 broken people who chose to heal together. Same thing, really. They sat in comfortable silence, watching through the window as staff and patients mingled at the fundraiser below. Each person a story of survival. Each one proof that trauma could be overcome. I need to tell you something, Zara said eventually. I'm pregnant again. Minho's eyes widened. What? How? When? The usual way. About 6 weeks ago. Surprise! She smiled at his shock. I found out yesterday. Wasn't sure how you'd feel. We're busy. Naledi is only 5. The center is expanding. I feel perfect. Another child. Another chance to be the father I never had. Another person to heal the world for. He pulled her close, kissing her with joy and gratitude. We're having another baby. That's everything. Even though our lives are chaotic and complicated. Especially because our lives are chaotic and complicated. We thrive in chaos. We build beauty from broken. That's who we are. Then let's keep building. Another child, another chapter, another piece of this beautiful, complicated life. Together, always together. 10 years after Zara first walked into Minho's compound as his captive doctor, she stood in the same medical suite where it had all begun, training a new generation of trauma specialists in her technique. The key is understanding that psychogenic dysfunction is protective, she explained to the eager students. The patient's nervous system is guarding them from perceived danger. Your job isn't to force past that protection. It's to create safety so profound that protection is no longer necessary. That requires patience, compassion, and genuine care for the person beneath the trauma. After the training, she walked the compound grounds, now expanded to include multiple buildings, gardens, therapy spaces, a true sanctuary for healing. Minho found her by the fountain they'd installed 3 years ago, dedicated to survivors worldwide. Naledi wants to know if she can volunteer at the center this summer, he said. She's 10 now, thinks she's old enough to help. What do you think? I think she has your compassion and my determination. That's a powerful combination. But I worry about exposing her to trauma stories this young. We'll give her age-appropriate work, administrative tasks, garden maintenance, interacting with patients who are stable and comfortable with children, supervised, gradual exposure. If she wants to help, we support that, just like we support everything she wants to do, including her current obsession with becoming a doctor like her mother. Especially that, though I've warned her medical school is brutal. Zara smiled. She's stubborn. She'll survive it. Their second daughter, Maya, named for the woman whose memory had brought them together, ran up with dirt on her dress and flowers in her hands. Mama, look, I grew these for the patient garden. At 7, Maya was all enthusiasm and energy. She'd grown flowers from seeds, tended them carefully, and now presented them with pride. They're beautiful, sweetheart. Let's plant them tomorrow. Can I help with patients tomorrow too? Like Naledi gets to? When you're older. For now, growing flowers is perfect helping. After the girls ran off to play, Minho pulled Zara close. 10 years. From captor and captive to husband and wife. Parents, healers. That's surreal. That's life. Surprising, complicated, beautiful in ways we never expected. She kissed him. I love our surreal life. I love you. For 10 years, for the next 50, for however long we get. Forever then. That's the plan. Forever, he agreed. And in that moment, standing in a healing center built from trauma, surrounded by family, created from broken pieces, living a life neither had imagined possible. They knew. Sometimes the worst things lead to the best things. Sometimes captivity becomes freedom. Sometimes healing someone else means healing yourself. And sometimes love grows in the most impossible places. Because Zara had touched Minho when his manhood wouldn't stand, and in touching him, had helped both of them rise, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, completely, from broken to whole, from captive to beloved, from trauma to triumph, together, always together, exactly as they'd promised from the beginning. The end. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed Minho and Zara's journey from medical coercion to healing partnership, make sure you're subscribed. More emotional, dark romance stories are coming. Stories of trauma, healing, and love that transforms. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. See you in the next story. Would you risk staying with someone who initially held you captive? Could you heal someone while healing yourself? Have you ever found beauty in broken places? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.